Welcome everyone to the Combating Loneliness workshop. The meat of it is understanding there's what is loneliness versus aloneness. This is rarely talked about. Loneliness is a lack of healthy biological necessary social connection, right? There is a need, and that need changes over time, but everyone here has a need. Maybe it's a few times a week, maybe it's every day, maybe it's once a month. There's somewhere that you can dial into if you know yourself well enough, where you go, okay, I need to go out and communicate and hang and dance and be in a crowd or whatever it is. But you shouldn't be doing it blindly, right? Because a lot of that could be avoidance. That is the aloneness part, being comfortable with being alone. Right? When we start out in life, most of our activities, because there's no built-in time to learn to be comfortable with yourself. It never happens. You're in school, you're at home, you're going through the institutions of life, then you get into the job life. There's no built-in time ever for you to learn to get comfortable with yourself. And so there's an avoidance of emotions and feelings and the stuff that you inherit from past generations and your parents and all this stuff that never gets processed because we don't sit with ourselves ever. And that then builds up and it dictates the quality of our relationships with ourselves, with partners, with our environment. So all this stuff needs to be unearthed, but that is where alone time, me time, quality time comes in. And then at some point later, we do realize and recognize, oh my gosh, that's the most important time, right? But in the beginning, we tend to, just because of the socialization, the conditioning of how we grow up, we really don't spend a lot of time with ourselves. We're not comfortable being alone. We're not even comfortable. A few seconds of stillness or silence in a conversation. We just start talking, just anything, just to override the stillness. Doesn't even matter what. Fill it. Fill the stillness. Know yourself so that you can tell what the difference is. Where's the line between your actual physical, biological need to be with people, right? Being around people lifts your mood. You can't really be depressed in a group. Somebody's going, the average of the group is going to lift you up, unless you're in a group of lots of depressed people. Then you're all depressed. But generally speaking, you can't be depressed without somebody seeing you. You're never in isolation long enough because you're in the community all the time. It has pros and cons as well, but in terms of depression and getting really lonely, it's hard to get away with it. But in the Western world, we're so isolated all the time. We can go home, especially with remote work, and there's no one really there to balance us out energetically. So when you're in a group, in a crowd, it is healthy, right? There's a healthy aspect to that. There's some historical roots of loneliness that are, interesting from an evolutionary standpoint. Being in a herd ensures your survival, right? So if loneliness comes in, it drives you back to the herd. And that's where you're safe. So, nothing should be vilified ever. It just needs to be seen in context. From a community standpoint, which we already talked about, there's accountability. You step up. Most people, when they start a family, they become a better person. They want to step up to the plate because now they have responsibility. They're being seen. They have, a sense of having to be a caregiver or provide safety, also provide safety back. So there's all these, real reasons, evolutionary reasons for loneliness. You feel supported, the social bond when you're in a group. So these things are valid. They're absolutely valid. We have a new element today that is the conditioning, right, of loneliness. Social media, right? What that constantly generates, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, like everyone's having the greatest time, everyone looks perfect, and I'm sitting here by myself, and I'm not as pretty as they are, I'm not as, where it's happening. You really have to spend time on yourself before you can navigate life in a meaningful way.